What's good with YouTube? You already know Big Flacco with a convict's perspective. I'm gonna smash, dash, and slide on through with that little bit of energy. Please hit the like, subscribe, comment, do all things to help support the channel. Hit that bell notification for fire content. And as you can tell by the thumbnail and title, we're gonna talk about the incident that occurred over there in Solano, man. Okay, let me give you a little bit of back history about this. At this time in Solano, man, it was basically a Norteño stronghold. You know the numbers we had the numbers on the particular yard I was on, which was a level 3 yard, yard one, yard two. They had a bunch of homeboys over there. They had about probably I think an estimated like 160 200 homeboys, and they never let the Sudanos get past like 10. The Sudanos that were there were mainly Christians that were left on the yard. Anytime they brought a bus, they would remove them. Our yard was a little bit more closer. I think there was maybe about 80 of us, maybe anywhere from 38 to 50 Sudanos at any given time, right? Now, but we were still dictating the program there, the politics, everything on the yard. And I think my particular building I was in, we had the most. I think we had like 16 or 20, and there's maybe like six homeboys. We had the shot caller in the building. I was a building channel at the time. This was building three. Yeah, this dude named Rick, old time Sudano. Used to get his hustle on with Pruno. Was a Tecato, like, of course. And pretty much used to keep the studios in line. He was old school. There was not too much known about him, whether he was former inmate, but he had a relationship with the COC at the time on the yard. They used to chop it up. Okay. Now you had a couple of Surenos that just got there, and you could tell that they were the leftovers from the ones that were supposed to get removed. Because previously before I got there, Snoop and a couple other people removed all the key targets on that yard. Um, Snoop actually got away with it. A couple of people went to the hole, and but there were some leftovers from that incident. And there was one I remember from Pomona. He had Pomona on his stomach, and he was a heavy set dude, and he just kind of looked like Shrek, right? And then there was another younger Sureño. I forgot where he was from, right? But they were just you could tell they were still trying to push a line, and all the other Sureños looked up to them. Now we pretty much dictated what was going on in that yard. You know what I'm saying? If they wanted benches or something like that, they'd have to go through us. And I remember we actually rejected them when they wanted an extra table in our building. And they had all those numbers and stuff. And we wanted them in the middle. They had like one or two benches right there. As far as when you come in the building, this side there was like four tables. I think it was four, three or four. We could be on this side or that side. And what we wanted to do was we have homeboys posted up on both sides playing cards, so then that way we could watch them what they were doing, their activities, and we could have a whole, what I'm saying, observation and everything that was going on. We had them right there in the middle. Now you could tell that there was a little bit of hostilities over like workout areas. I was supposed to actually fight some Sureño one on one in the cell because he came at me sideways, and we ended up going on lockdown. Um, we got it cleared through their shot collar and ours. Me and him were gonna chunk him because the dude came at me sideways and then walked away, and I was ready to take off on him right there, but the homeboy Popo from Los Banos had stopped me. So now I'm gonna tell myself I'm gonna chunk him with this dude. They did the politics. We were gonna get him up, and next thing you know, the whole fucking prison was on lockdown, so it kind of became a dead issue. Now, these Sureños were pretty much, like I said, they didn't like to be there. This is Northern California. This was a time era to where when we seen each other, we did not really even talk. I think maybe there was like one or two Sureños that would talk to us at all, which was the shot caller Rick, who would come and get at me in the building every once in a while, and another one named Roach. Now Roach was a blood out there in the streets whose hood the inmate green lighted, and they all became Sureños. But he was actually just Sureño by default. So at this point, we I don't know if this was before we started getting into it or whatnot, but I think there was an incident where the homeboy Smiley from North Highlands went up in the cell with some youngster, didn't even report it, chunked him with him, and this is when 17 Reasons came out, right? And he's telling this youngster, say north side, right? It was crazy on the yard. Then there was another incident with the homeboy Puppet from Southeast, where there was this big white Sureño, and he got stupid and Puppet dropped him. You know what I'm saying? Literally dropped him, man. It was kind of like a shocker. So there was like two incidents that happened that were one on one, and they took the bad end. They took the bad end of both those fights. So these guys didn't want to be there no more. And so, I guess they were observing the yard and they were trying to figure out who the best targets would be. Well, these guys picked the wrong fucking targets, the dudes that went with them. These guys, I remember it's night yard. This is before they started to enforce the close custody. These Surenos, by the where the canteens at on one yard and where the handball courts are by building one, in between there, you get a couple OGs that used to walk their laps at night. I'll tell you who these dudes were. Glenn Holden Hobo, also known as Hobo or Bo Rilla, a former NF captain. Smiley Ramos, another NF member, right? That's actually his sister is actually married to fucking Fig, old time, from the 70s. I mean, he was so old school that when he took off his shirt, he had fucking welts of stab wounds fucking when the MA tried to kill him in the kitchen. He was that old school. And then Ricardo London, one of the ones that was instrumental in creating the structure and being behind the scenes of the Nuestra Raza, who was neither an NF member or NR, but was put in that position because he was outside the box. And it didn't bring any attention or heat to him. He was a strong sympathizer. Probably the only one in history that was appointed in the position as being in charge of all undercover NF members and the structure. He used to report directly to Bo. Him. And he was a big dude too. He was about my height. He was probably about 6'4", 6'5", long hair. And then another homeboy, Easy from San Jose. These four used to always be together a lot. And like I said, Bo was with it, man. You know what I'm saying? He'd be on the yard and could see everything that was going on. When there was discussions about them potentially moving on him, I swear to God, I've heard the story several times. He goes, "Today's a good day to die." And fucking, I guess the homeboy DK from Cyberfell looks at fucking Rascal and he goes, "He knows." I guess it came back just to leave Bo alone. See, it was a little different time era. I mean, the NR used to just focus on the NR, and there were some old timers that like just were kind of left alone for some reason. I don't know why. So these are the guys that these Sureños tried to rush. Now they tried to rush with socks and locks. I guess I don't know how they had a lock on the socks because this was a cell living, but I guess through the dorms that were right there, or from coming from the level 2, they tried to rush. I guess Ricardo London was the only one that got pretty hurt, right? But he still handled his business. Hobo, Smiley, and fucking E put tips on a group of Sureños. I think maybe it was like 5 or 7 of these dudes. I don't know how many. They just were just lighting these dudes up. Now, bear in mind, Bo's probably about shit. 22, let me see. He's probably about 48 years old. Smiley's about 48 years old. E's probably about in his 40s. And so is Ricardo London. These dudes are all lifers. You know what I'm saying? And they used to tell us on the yard that if this is what Bo and all them said, you guys run the yard, you guys do what you guys do. But if an MA member touches down on this yard, we're gonna handle it. These dudes still had that much hatred for the MA at that time. And but these dudes put hands on these fucking Sureños. I guess from what we heard later on was they thought that they were gonna take out key leadership, and they figured that these dudes were old veteranos viejos, right? That they were gonna be not only easy targets, but that they were probably like the secret chain of command on the yard. And when they ran up on them, they did not know that they were fucking around with some bona fide NF members from the 70s. An NF member who killed the first Aryan Brotherhood. You know what I'm saying? Another NF member that killed the fucking, you know what I'm saying, had another killing. Carter London had killings. All 3 of these 4 dudes had multiple killings. You know what I'm saying? I've heard stories about Bo being rushed by MA and AB on the yard and fighting off them while they're trying to stab him and kill him. You know what I'm saying? These dudes were not no weak links. You know what I'm saying? So they picked the wrong ones to fuck around with. They went in thinking they were going to handle their business. They did a sneak attack, and they got served. They got fucking lit up, man. And I remember it because I was right there, kind of by the track, there was where the LA Crip car used to kick it at. LA Crip car used to kick it right there on the field. There's the tables right there. 4 billion was all homeboys. 6 billion was all homeboys. There was a table by 5 billion where the Kumi cats were going to be, and then there was another building right there where the Sacktown Bloods were at. So the yard was really mixed. There was mainly Kumis, Sack Bloods, and LA Crip car. You know what I mean? And the civilians spread in between. And Night Yard, you wouldn't get as many people out there because Night Yard would only be for about an hour, hour and a half. And I just remember fucking running across the yard. We didn't know what was going on. All of a sudden, we look and we just seen them getting off. And so that the homies are getting off. I just start running. I don't know if anybody ran with me. I don't recall anybody, but I think Rascal told me later on that there was some dudes that actually tried to make an effort to go over there. And I remember I got halfway there and I looked around. I didn't see anybody. And the fight was already over. And I was like, fuck, man. I'm missing all the action. But that one stood out to me, man, because, you know, I've been involved in a lot of removals. I've been in little melees. I've been involved in a lot of incidents. I've seen other groups get off on each other. But this one was kind of like where you kind of had a sense of pride because you seen these OGs stand their ground against some youngsters who thought they were going to get that ass. You know what I'm saying? They came at these OGs with weapons and everything. And these homeboys tipped these cats out. You know what I'm saying? It was the one time where I was like, you know what, man? Them OG, that's what an OG is right there. You know what I'm saying? And Hobo and Smiley and Ricardo, they represented what I thought would be an OG. These dudes fucking were ready to fucking get off at any moment. When we got to the yard in the hole, fucking Smiley used to say it all the time. He used to say, I hear the rumors about what they say about my standings. He goes, whatever I got coming, I got coming. You know what I'm saying? He goes, I'm not PCing up. And I always respected Smiley because Smiley was the first one to really pull me to the side and give me the NF history. We talked about Manzanas and Joker from, you know what I'm saying, Joker and fucking, Cheyenne and all the stuff that happened. He gave me a lot of education that I didn't get from anybody else because he was actually present for when all this happened. You know what I'm saying? And when you looked at these dudes, right? Fucking Smiley had a fucked up hand, right? Always be out there with his fucking they would always be out there with their little MP3s. You know what I'm saying? Sunglasses. And they'd post up on the yard with their sunglasses and they'd observe the yard. Because to them it was a fucking week compared to how it was in the 70s and 60s, man. But I remember Smiley in his 50s busting down machine, you know what I'm saying? Still ready to be down for the homeboys and still represent for the Cosa. And these dudes knew what time it was with the dude that was running the yard. They told us off top, they go, man, we already knew he was all bad. But this wasn't our business to be involved in. You know what I'm saying? So this was like I said, man, I've seen some crazy stuff. I've seen in San Quentin, I've seen one time where two OGs, a black dude and a white dude got in a fight. That was fucking comical. Seen the same thing in the county jail, man. You know what I'm saying? But it wasn't up to par with like this. These dudes were still with that action, man. And like I said, Ricardo London was the only one that got hurt a little bit bad, man. You know what I'm saying? And when we got to the hole, everybody got transferred out except for Smiley. You know what I'm saying? Smiley was still present. Um, and I got to chop it up with him for a little bit, man. I got to learn a lot, man. And he passed away. You know what I'm saying? And I know when you hear the female Chris in Fig's book, The Last General Standing, that's Smiley's sister. That's the Smiley they're talking about in the book, man. He was a good dude, man. Anyways, this is my experience. One of the melees I think that stood out the most. It wasn't the biggest one, but it was one where you got to sit there and say, okay, that's our lineage. That's where we come from. You know what I'm saying? Because you hear the stories about when they used to hit the yard and fucking stand up against all this shit, man. You hear this stuff, right? Now I'm actually witnessing it. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know I was privileged to be around certain legends in the system. Any way you want to look at it, right? Whether you agree with how some people fell out, Bobo, Death Row Joe, fucking, Bo, all these cats, dude, they're all legends in their time, man. You know what I'm saying? Those are true legends as far as when you think of the elite NF members, the ones that were putting it down back in the day. Now, to be technical, I don't look at anybody as legends when it's considered them because they did what they had to do behind the walls. But if you're gonna put anybody on like a Mount Rushmore or an elite level of those that started this shit, those that made sacrifices, these are some individuals that were there. This is what you would probably qualify for those to be called legends. Yeah, Bo along with Fig killed the first ever Aryan Brotherhood by the NF. And then you had Ricardo London. These dudes left an impact in the history. And it wasn't just like that they held leadership positions or did what they did. These dudes had multiple fucking murders for the organization. So I guess in a criminal prison sense, right? Which we're not trying to promote or anything, right? But they would be legends in that life. You know, anybody that went through those eras in the 70s and 60s and even early 80s that didn't have to go PC, that hit every main line, you know what I'm saying, that was solid back in those days, they had to be about that action, man. You couldn't always rely upon numbers. The numbers didn't come in till later, till around like 75 or like 75 to 78 is when Tracy became a stronghold and it became easy for a lot of individuals to go there. But these dudes were the ones that were out there like in 70, 69, 71, hitting those yards where there was still tension. You know what I'm saying? And they survived. You know, much respect to them. You know. Anyways, quick spiel, man. I thought you guys would enjoy it, man. Flacco Convicts perspective. Hope you guys have a good one.